Join us. We know how to do this. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the School Board of Volusia County Workshop. Today is September the 9th, and we have a workshop that will be starting in just a few minutes, and then followed by a school board meeting, which will begin at 3:30. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. All board members are present, and I would like to get right to the workshop item. The first one is item 2.01, the Superintendent Search. And we have our Florida School Board Association representatives, consultants with us today, Dr. Bill Vogel and John Reichert. And we also have Kelly with us today, Kelly Schultz, our Community Information Officer. And who would like to start this morning?
Just to say
Bill?
first, to congratulate you on a successful hurricane recovery process. And I heard it went very smooth over here. Greg did a wonderful job and the whole team here. And
Thank you, sir. As a former superintendent, you know all that stress and all that's involved. So
we were all blessed. So
yeah.
Congratulations on that. John's going to start out
Okay,
first
John.
with the finalist interview schedule.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Vogel, and good morning, Board. In your packet, we had provided 5 samples of interview schedules.
John, a packet. It's on Board Docs?
Board Docs?
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was referring to the Board Docs.
Okay.
If they could access those.
Give us a second
Yes.
there just to
Certainly.
get on Board Docs. Everybody good with that? Okay, John, you can go ahead.
Okay. If you're on the samples of the schedules, if y'all could just pull up one on the screen there for me, please. Okay, that's good. The 4 finalists on 2 days. I'm sorry. That's really maybe 4 finalists with a 1-hour interview. If we could pull that one up, because I think that'll help us with. That's it. Yes, ma'am. Okay. If I could, I'd just like to run through the concept of this schedule, and there are alternate schedules depending upon how many finalists we have and the time slots that the board wants to interview. So if you will, look to the left under the date of November the 6th. You'll see that the candidates, and I'm just assuming we have 4 candidates that are selected as finalists. They will arrive in town if they're from out of area. And the option the board could consider would be to have a host that would kind of chaperone your finalist around over the days that they're here in Volusia. So assuming the board would like to have a host assigned to each candidate, previous districts have used members of the leadership team. Some boards prefer to go with community members, maybe your county council of chambers. So they identify certain. If the board wants to go with a host concept, then dinner that evening could be on the schedule for the host to have dinner with each with their finalists that evening. So that's one thing we'll kind of ask you to consider and talk about in a few minutes. If you look to the middle of the chart in kind of the shaded area on November the 7th, That morning kind of kicks off a full day. And typically there's breakfast that the host would meet the candidate, go to breakfast with a candidate, or you would have more or less a continental breakfast here at the district. That has worked well in the past to have just a continental breakfast here, so the host and each finalist would meet. It can be in one location, and there's kind of a light gathering for continental breakfast that morning. Then around 8 or 8:30, this schedule was kind of developed understanding that Mr. Cologne could not be here until 12. I think this morning Mr. Cologne has indicated he can be available all day on this Thursday.
Oh, that's great.
I'll just come back early.
That's great. Yeah, that'll make it
That's wonderful.
nicer,
Right. So
not
this
so rushed.
Yes, this middle block is really subject now to revisal because of Mr. Cologne's availability. So after the continental breakfast, and maybe we would have breakfast from 7 to 8 here at this building possibly, and then if you have 4 finalists, the school board would start interviewing, say, candidate A, say at 8:30. The other 3 candidates would be doing their community school tours during that hour and a half that the board is interviewing candidate A. At the end of the candidate A interview, candidate B would be returning from his or her tour. Candidate A that you just finished interviewing goes out for his or her community tours. Candidate B comes in for an interview with the board for an hour and a half, and you kind of alternate and finish up the day with either school tours, school community tours that each candidate is on, or their interviews with the board. And what I would like to do is to be able potentially, I think y'all have a school board meeting on September 24th, and if you could consider maybe an hour or 30 minutes before that board meeting, if you had just a brief workshop meeting, I can bring back to you a schedule that would kind of show the modified, revised Thursday activities with 4 finalists. And if we start board interviews, say at 8:15 in the morning, we could be done by 5 o'clock in the afternoon with 4 finalists, and that would still give us ample time to be ready for the community reception that evening.
John, so let me just try to clarify a few things, get it straight in my little brain here. Anyway, you mentioned, tell me that date again. You'd want to take it.
September 24th, I believe y'all have a school board meeting that evening at 5:30.
Yes, we do. And I guess now we have a budget hearing that same day now. It was moved from today to 6 o'clock on the 24th. Okay, so go ahead, John.
So what I could do is work on this revised schedule based upon our new information. I could get that maybe to Connie in the next day or two, and she could maybe even get it to the board well in advance. And if we just had a brief, just 30 minutes, I'll be glad to come back just to talk about this interview schedule. And if y'all would kind of, by consensus, just say, yes, this will be a good schedule for us to follow, then I could at least let you see a revised schedule with this Thursday activity.
Okay, let me ask you this question. We have a workshop scheduled already on Tuesday, October the 8th at 10 o'clock. That's our normal workshop scheduled day, just like today is, the first school board meeting of the month. I mean, if you wanted to do it then, I don't know, I don't think there's a great sense of urgency.
Yeah. The earlier the better for this would help, because there are logistics involved with hosts, making sure they're available, and the times. Because when you select your host, one decision, well, first of all, you'd have to decide who the host would be and whether you would want one host for all 3 days, and or you want to split that up, and whether you want staff or you want others. So the sooner we could get this done, the better everything would go. And it won't take us long at all to just make sure the board has final approval.
I think, Mr. Chair, that the October 8th would be okay. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
Okay.
Yep,
not impose additional
No, no.
meetings on the board if we don't have to. So
no.
there, we have enough of those going on, so if we can make that work. And then when would we know, John, the number of finalists? When would that actually?
You
come
select the semifinalist on October 15th.
October 15th.
That's the semifinalist,
Semifinalists.
right?
Okay.
You really don't select the number of finalists until October the 29th.
October 29th, okay. So really, it's not until we know how many finalists there are that we really know, need to know how many hosts.
Exactly.
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 But we should, Kelly, I'm sure you're thinking about this and who and how many, and
Right.
just to have a pool of people
Right.
that we could
Right.
count on.
And
Okay.
one issue today, if the board feels by consensus they would like to have a host, then that, and kind of go through the 3 days with that concept of having a host, then we can always put the TBD until, as we get closer to that time.
Okay, okay. All right, so then we'll leave it that we'll have the final decisions on all that on October the 8th?
8th?
Yeah,
At
if
a
that's good
workshop,
for you.
okay.
And if you all would want to be first, if your time, if this time of day works out good for you on
Yes.
October 8th, then we could put you on the agenda first thing
Perfect.
so that you could
Perfect. Okay.
leave and not have to wait.
Okay.
Ms. Wright?
So I have a couple questions. So we're looking at the sample for 4 finalists. Are we now deciding that we don't want to consider the one for 3 finalists?
Well, no, ma'am. We just try to prepare for if you have 5 finalists,
Okay,
for an example,
That's fine.
and I can bring you back a schedule with 3 finalists, 4 finalists, and 5 finalists on October the 8th.
okay. No, I was just curious because I know we went to the
Y-
4.
y-
1
yes,
hour.
ma'am.
As far as the host, Mr. Chair, I think if we want to go that route, and I'm indifferent.
Yeah.
Or I think we probably should include futures.
Oh, yeah,
with this.
yeah,
I think they
yeah.
would be probably the best to host
Mhm.
our candidates.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation if we decide to go with the host format.
Is that okay with
Yes, I
folks?
totally agree. I was going to
Ruben, are
suggest
you
it.
good with that? Yeah. Okay, so when you say futures, you mean from that board? that-
Yes,
yeah,
from the board.
From the board. So Kelly, that makes it easy. And,
I'll reach out
yeah,
to
those are
Cynthia.
super people. Yeah,
Okay.
great.
So thank you,
Good
Mr. Chair. So
suggestion,
We'll
Ms. Wright,
proceed
yeah.
that the board does want a host, and we'll identify those hosts at a later date.
Great.
Okay.
And are you
I
saying
will
futures?
let-
Sorry.
I think we can ask Kelly to take charge of that with Cynthia and, yeah.
Absolutely. So are you saying, just to be clear, that you want 4 future members of futures to take each of the 4 candidates out? I'm just being.
Well, yeah, it'd
What-
be anywhere from 3 to
3.
5, I
right.
think.
And I know you were mentioning 4, but from what you were talking about before, I think other districts typically do 3, correct? Or is that
Well, but
finalists?
That doesn't really matter.
No.
Or they don't want to influence it,
There's
however you
no
decide.
magic number
No
when it
magic
comes to
number.
finalists, yeah.
So you might want to kind of have in mind potentially 5,
5,
Yeah.
yeah.
potentially 5.
Everybody's done pretty much 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
Perfect.
that's great, John.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that possibly we talked about with now trying to get all this done on that Thursday, November the 7th, we would like to see if the board would agree to changing the community reception until 6 p.m. for a start time, if that
Yeah.
would be appropriate.
Yeah. Mr.
And-
Chairman, I think
yes.
that's a much better idea because we get out of the traffic and delay.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, I think that's what Futures wanted to do, and we kind of pushed it up to 5:30, so I think that would go along well with them.
Okay, good. Well, I will make that adjustment and have that corrected when I come back on October the 8th.
And again, I'm making sure Kelly is going to be our information officer here to futures, okay?
Oh, absolutely. And
Okay.
then we have that reception hall from 5 till 9 anyway, so it won't be an issue with
Great.
them.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Then, if you would, on Friday, if you look to the right, please, under the date of November the 8th,
Yes,
this really will not change with the new schedule that I bring back. This would be the Friday morning would, again, I'm assuming there's a kind of a light continental breakfast that Friday morning. The host would kind of, again, be with the candidate until they go into their interviews. And if you will note, for the one-on-one interviews, I'll come back and designate a specific board member in the first column. And the room we will assign, say if you have 4 finalists, assuming there are only 4, then there will be 4 rooms in this building where the finalist will be. And then at your scheduled time, say board member in the first column would be interviewing from 10 to 11, just based on this schedule. Now,
Sure.
we can start earlier, but they would be interviewing candidate A while the second board member is interviewing candidate B, third board member is interviewing C, and then the fourth board member is interviewing D. So if you have 4 finalists, you'll always have 1 board member who is not interviewing at a given hour. If you, for some reason, have 5, then it will be back-to-back interviews for all board members. And if you have 3 finalists, there will be 2 board members that would not be interviewing at any specific time. So that's kind of the concept of your Friday one-on-one interviews, and there will be, regardless of the numbers, unless there's 3, well, even if there's 3, because you have 2 board members who aren't interviewing, it'll go into the afternoon, but there will be a lunch. Again, possibly something here at this building, a light lunch for the candidates to have on that Friday. And then after your one-on-one interviews, depending on the numbers and the times we start, and I'll bring that back on the 8th, then you really will wrap up kind of mid-afternoon on Friday.
okay. And as you said, then we would know after October 29th just how many finalists we have.
Right.
And then that would affect this schedule on Friday, November 8th.
Yes.
So we can
Exactly.
decide that, finalize that.
Right, and what I will do, as I said, I'll bring back 3 samples for 3 finalists, 4 finalists, and 5. Then that way,
good.
once y'all decide that evening, we're going to have 4 finalists, then that would be the schedule that we can post immediately to the portal for the public to be aware and do some press releases as well.
And just so that I'm clear, and then Ms. Wright has a question. So if I am interviewing and I have completed all my interviews, I've interviewed all the finalists, and it's 1 o'clock, do I need to stay here? I'm just good to go, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
just wanted to make sure we're not coming back as a
Right.
group
No.
for anything.
No, sir.
Because
No.
these are individual interviews, they're private interviews, not subject to sunshine.
Okay, great. And Ms. Wright?
And so my question is, if we look at they're having breakfast from 7 to 8, what are they gonna do for that gap from 9 to 10?
Well,
Right?
I just really gave you an opportunity to sleep a little late if you wanted to. But I suggest we go ahead and start around 8:30, or we could have the continental breakfast on that Friday or any morning from 7:30 to say 8:30, and you could start at 9, and that would be plenty of time to finish by 4 or so in the afternoon.
Okay, I'm definitely the one who wouldn't mind sleeping in late. I'm just saying, I just didn't know why we would have such a big gap. So I don't mind if we just, and, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if we didn't start the continental breakfast at 7:30 or even from 8 to 9
Sure.
versus having them here so early.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
we're not gonna start until 9 o'clock.
Okay. Well, I will work on now if you have my sample for 5, may have you starting earlier. Just if you have 5 persons. Well, no, actually, they're going to finish at the same time. They're going to finish. I'm sorry, they're going to finish at the same time. But I will do
because
that.
there's 5 of us, so.
I'll correct that discrepancy, I will, thank you.
And I'll have to work with Connie to find spots for the number of candidates, because the candidates will stay put, and from what I understand, the school board members will move around and have their individual interviews. So we'll have to
Yes.
find, if it's 3 candidates, 3 different private spots in this building
Right.
for them to go.
Right.
Any other questions, board members? Okay, good. Yes, sir.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, just to confirm, we will prepare for hosts for each of the candidates. On the morning of Thursday, the 7th, and Friday, the 8th, would you kind of lean toward a continental breakfast here at this building?
Kelly, I'm looking at you.
I think that would be easiest, honestly. They've
Yeah.
had luck with it in the past.
Just kind of, don't have to deal with the parking and the driving. Yes,
Okay.
Ms. Cuthbert, then Ms. Haynes. Yeah.
If View is willing, would it be possible for View to host the lunch on Thursday, the 7th?
She's saying Thursday.
Isn't it Thursday?
Or Friday?
Friday, is that Friday the 7th?
Friday might work a little bit
I
better
thought
because
Thursday, 7th was a Thursday.
Friday, the 8th might work a little bit better because on Thursday, they might be on a community tour,
Oh, okay.
and they might
And they'll be separate
be
throughout the
separate.
day.
Yeah.
But
It's, when they're doing the community tours, it sometimes works better that they're finishing up a tour, and on the way back here, they can stop and have lunch with their host. And those lunch hours may vary a little based on the tours and the interview schedule that's set for Thursday.
Yeah.
So to really have a designated, this is a firm time for lunch, Friday might be better if that's workable.
Yeah,
Mr.
Ms.
Chairman,
Cuthbert.
thank you. Elizabeth Albert kind of gave me the signals they would be willing to do both days.
Okay.
If we did breakfast, they'd be willing to do both.
Ms. Haynes, yes.
Okay, so my first question is, when you're looking at starting so early each morning, you're asking these people to arrive, and you're asking them to get up and be dressed professionally to be videotaped for an interview. I mean, we're starting very early for that, in my opinion, to happen. But where are we gonna put, where are they gonna stay? I'm assuming that if we're starting everything here each day, we're not gonna put them at the beach, because then you're also asking them to have to drive 45 to 50 minutes over, which means you're starting their day even earlier. I'm just trying to be considerate of the fact that, have we looked at where we're going to put them when we're looking at starting times? And you're also, if you're having them come in here to DAC at that time of the morning, DAC staff isn't even here at that time of the morning. So who are we then asking to be here to unlock the building to start it prior to the time that the people start working here? I mean, I'm just trying to be considerate of both sides.
Yep.
At looking at this. And so, that's some questions to say. Where are we going to place them? Are we going to place them at a hotel here in DeLand? Are we placing them at a hotel that already has a continental breakfast available?
Right.
Or, I'll be honest with you, if it were personally me and I'm on the side that I'm coming in to have to be interviewed, could you just let me breathe in the morning and, eat what I would like to eat without having to be on show already for somebody at that time in the morning, and give me a chance to, come to be able to hopefully, do my best interview. But that's just me. I mean,
Right.
some of you may like to get up at 5 a.m. and you want to talk to somebody at 6:30 a.m. and be somewhere,
I
but.
thought we all like that.
Well, and I think that what you're looking at here was crammed in a little bit more because we thought everything had to be done before noon for Mr. Cologne. So now it'll be spread out a little more, and I think there's a lot more flexibility with that day, right?
Right, it is, and they typically usually don't start this early. So again, this will be modified, and whenever we kind of start on that Thursday, we'll kind of have the same start time on that Friday. And also, I will say that with a host, once the host kind of meets the candidate when they come in on that Wednesday evening, if a host or candidate prefers to maybe just have breakfast on their own at the hotel and ask the host to pick them up and bring them for their 8 o'clock interview, that's fine as well. So the host is, like I said, kind of their chaperone, what works well for them. And keep in mind, some of the candidates will have possibly a spouse with them. And during the community and school tours, the spouse is certainly welcome to join the host and the candidate to go on these tours. Some of the spouse, in some cases, have said, I really just want to let my candidate go do his or her thing. I'm going to drive around, potentially look for housing, potentially just see what's around in Volusia County. So we try to be as flexible with the candidates and the spouses as we can.
Yeah, so just to piggyback, and I will get to you, Ms. Cuthbert, because Jamie brings up a good point, and it's a good time to kind of clarify this. So my understanding was that the candidates were going to stay on the beach side somewhere. Is that what you were?
That's still open to discussion, however
Yeah.
we want to do that.
And that my understanding was that the host, whoever their host was going to go to that hotel, meet the candidate in the lobby,
Yes.
pick them up, and then take them on the tour. So if we do what Jamie is recommending, just eliminate that continental breakfast group, continental breakfast, and have them meet their host at 8:30 in the lobby. I think that's a reasonable time. And then they do their tour, which I think, Kelly, you said was about a 2-hour tour or an hour tour. I'm not sure exactly.
That's what we were looking at when we had the condensed time frame, so I guess that will have to be looked at again.
Okay,
2 hours.
and then,
Okay, yeah.
and then after they have their tour, then they'd be driven here to DAC, and they would have their interview time. So you would time it so that after their tour, they have time to have lunch and then
Yes.
get in here.
And
And
it's all
obviously,
kind of-
some of them are not coming here till 3 o'clock, so.
Right, and it's all coming together because you had mentioned futures, and that puts a change on it because they're, from what I understand, mostly based east side. So, and I've also been told from years past, it's really nice to have the candidates fly into Daytona Beach because trying to get staff members to drive all the way to Orlando, and that becomes a nightmare with traffic and that. So it's kind of all fitting together, the fact that you chose futures, and if that works out, they're beach side, from what I understand, most of them, and then if we have them in a hotel and the flights come in beach side, then they do their tours, then they come here for lunch, and we forget the breakfast here. That makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. Board, yes,
Does
that
that work?
okay?
Okay.
And Ms. Cuthbert had a question, yeah.
Are we going to have a room set aside as a host room? So I mean, if they're not in an interview, just some place to go where they have downtime?
Right, that's what we're gonna work on.
Just thought it would be nice to have a place for them to get some water, a bagel, gather their thoughts.
One thing
Relax.
to follow up on what you said too, there is an opportunity on Friday, November 8th for the luncheon which you talked about.
Yes.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, well,
Right.
yeah, I see nods, so everyone is
The
in agreement.
format of that could be that the Teachers Association leadership could be there, and then the candidates could be there, and then, but it would not be an interview type process. The candidates would just introduce themselves and have a social event.
Yeah,
And we would
great.
be there too.
Okay, so it's just on Friday?
Yes.
It won't be necessary for Thursday?
No, because they're out.
Because they're out on their tours?
They're out and about, yes, ma'am.
Thursday,
Right.
And Ms. Wright, then Ms. Haynes.
And I would just say it should probably be view and ask me. Ask.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay,
I just,
good.
Good point. And Ms. Haynes.
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. So we're going to ask them to fly into Daytona. We're going to put them up on the east side. We're going to use Futures as the host. We'll have them meet them at their hotel, whatever, however they wanted to do breakfast. And then they will start their school and community tours, possibly everybody but Candidate A, because Candidate A would head this way. So I would assume then B, C, and D, you would start their tours on the east side of the county, since they're already on the east side of the county. And they will be then working their way to the west side of the county for when their interview time is, where A would start over here, and then A could do their tours and work their way
Backwards,
backwards to the hotel. But the only thought is then, is we're back here for the Sanborn. But I could also see them wanting to maybe stop their tours early enough that they could freshen up to be at the reception that evening that's going back to 6 p.m. And then to clarify, to make sure I understand Friday, once again, they'll do breakfast either with or with their host at their hotel, and then they will head this way, and we will start the interviews, but we will have a lunch hosted with View and AFSCME, which I think is a great idea, after, we're in between all of those interviews. And then at the end of the day, I'm assuming the host will take them back to hotels and
Yes.
or on to flights, depending on if they're wanting to go home or something. Am I clear on? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I think when I bring back the new schedules, it'll focus a little better. And also, so you'll know too, once you identify the host, I'll provide the host with, their finalist name, their email address, their phone numbers of the spouse if they're around. So there will be good opportunities, the hotel they'll be in, their room numbers, and just so we'll give them good information to communicate back and forth with.
And you may find a number of the people will want to drive in too, and may extend their stay and so forth. And one of the things that you'll look at, and I know Tim can tell you, is stamina too. So it is a long day. I've been through a similar day, and the candidates have, but probably for a superintendent or someone you're looking at, it's pretty much a normal schedule.
Good point, yeah. That's great. That's great. No, I think we're going to eliminate the continental breakfast, and that will eliminate another duty for the host, and just gives them a little more time
Right.
with their family, and a little more time not having to be on the spot,
Right, exactly. And we'll kind of follow Ms. Cuthbert's recommendation and kind of have a little hospitality room with water and just light snacks or something that they can go
because
breathe
after
and-
that reception Thursday night, that'll be a big,
Yep,
on the stage event too for them.
Right.
And be
And
nice to
Mr.
see
Chair,
them.
one last question for me. Would y'all want to entertain the idea of the host having dinner with the finalists on that Wednesday?
No,
Okay, good.
no.
And
Okay.
that's a really good idea. That supports what Mrs. Haynes saying too, that, they're going to be tired however they get
Yep.
here, and then they've been around
Yep.
to be on.
Yeah. Ms. Cutler, do you have a comment?
Yes, they might want to do a little adventuring on their own as well.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to talk to our present superintendent?
Yes, sometimes they call the superintendent, yes.
Okay, just
Sure,
checking.
yeah.
Tim's like, oh, boy. Oh, that's great.
I will look forward to returning on the 8th with new schedules.
Okay, great. Are you doing the search for Indian River?
No, we're not.
You are not, okay. I was sitting next to the interim superintendent for Indian River yesterday,
Susan Moxley. We
Susan
did
Mo-
the interim search for them, and when they selected Susan.
Oh, you really? You did the interim search when they selected Susan? Yeah, she seemed very nice, yeah.
She's doing a great job.
Okay. All right, board members, questions for our school board, Florida School Board Association group? And can you give us an update? Any new applicants? How's that going?
One additional issue, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry.
As you know, we had to cancel the September 5th community forum.
Yes.
We have a recommendation to reschedule that for September 25th.
Thank
and I
you, Ms.
think all-
Cuthbert, for that. Great job.
That's good, okay, then I will add that back to the timeline as a replacement date, and we'll post that on the portal as well.
And so Connie, you have that date, that new date? Yeah, so
Yes.
that was the one that was canceled on the,
Right.
what was it, the 5th? we have it?
Wednesday, the 25th.
And Ms. Cuthbert, yes.
What about posting the applications? I know we've received some. When will they go on our website?
Well, we were honestly waiting for confirmation that the Citizens Advisory Committee had received their communication regarding Sunshine, and once that was done, then we would post, because we were a little cautious to post them without that communication going to the advisory committee members yet.
Right, and the hurricane kind of threw us
It
back on
did.
that. We were
It
going to
did.
do it last week, but
Right.
Ted and I were doing other things.
Okay.
So we haven't sent that out yet, Miss Cuthbert. I just want everyone to know, but Ted and I talked
It'll be
yesterday
out
about
today.
it.
I just finalized a draft.
Okay.
So it'll be out today.
Okay,
I need to get Miss, we need email addresses. You did? Great. Then we're good.
Miss Wright.
And so I had one question. I thought we were not going to disclose anything until after the September 26th meeting with the actual committee.
No, this is the letter to inform them that they're under the Sunshine Law.
Right, I
Yeah.
understand, but I'm saying displaying the candidates and information. I didn't think we were going to do anything until the committee officially met September the 26th. That was my
Oh, I didn't-
understanding. And I may
I
be
didn't
just
understand
asked
that.
when it was
that's
gonna
my
be done.
question.
Well, I think that was the initial plan, but then I think the board discussed, well, we could go ahead and notify them of Sunshine as soon as we could, and after that notification, we could post them out.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm taking care of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be in the Superintendent Search portal that we created. It'll be in there. Yes, or John said he would send them to me, too.
Right. Yeah.
We can figure that out.
Right.
So as soon as we get confirmation the letter has gone out, then we'll go ahead and send those and we'll get those posted. One other change that was suggested, Ms. Albert suggested that we change the forum for the teachers time to 3:30
For you.
for view. and
Oh,
we're-
for that focus group?
That
Yeah.
focus group for them. and we're
Sure,
fine with
whatever
doing
works
that, so
best
we're
for
gonna-
them,
We'll
that's-
amend the calendar for that.
That makes sense, yeah. That's great.
And Ms. Cuthbert, do I need to contact the Port Orange South Daytona Community?
That would be
Center too,
great.
okay.
Mrs. Connors, Debbie Connors.
Debbie Connors, yeah.
Yeah, I contacted them. Family Days is coming up in Port Orange, and that's really the only time they could do it. So it's a Wednesday. It's day right after our board meeting on the 24th.
Nice. Yes, Ms. Wright.
In addition, Chair, is it possible that we can send the information in attending the elected officials roundtable? All of the mayors as well as the county council, I invited them to participate.
Good.
So they are asking if we could send them communication of the actual dates that they come to the community forums, they'll share it with their constituents, and information about once we know when we're going to conduct the interviews. But I know they were asking me when were we changing the date to, and I told them I wasn't certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great, and I'm so glad that you did that, and that was perfect yesterday. What's her name? Darla in the county
Yes.
council, in the county manager's office, Kelly, she has all the emails for all those people that Ms. Wright's just talking to, so she could facilitate that. Just one call to her, tell her the dates.
Who is it? I'm sorry.
I will give you her last name, begins with a Z, Zalewski or something like that,
Okay.
yeah. She's just great, and she'll help you get the word out. Ms. Cuthbert?
And is it possible that all of us could have a list of the Superintendent Search Committee members? Could we know who's
Of
on
course,
our-
you mean on that committee?
Yes,
On the big
25
committee?
members.
Yeah,
We could have a list.
yeah, Connie has that, I believe. Of the people on the Community Advisory Committee.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, so if you'd send that out to everybody, Connie, all the board.
And Mr. Chair, the only
Yes.
thing that I think we're missing from that advisory committee list is the email address for Mr. Fisher.
We got
So,
just sent it to
oh, wonderful. Y'all are wonderful.
Well, boy, I tell you what, we on the
Wonderful.
same page or what here?
Oh,
I tell you.
It's a real team effort here. I'll
Thank
tell
you,
that.
yes, it is.
really is.
It's a great team, too.
I think at this time Kelly was going to give a quick update on kind of the portal.
On the portal.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. We
Kelly?
had some Google Analytics done for the first week, and we had 3,000 people view the pages, which included the how to apply, the timeline, the brochure, information about the community forums, and the survey. And most 700 of them were in the very first day. It tapered off a little bit throughout the week, and then hurricane came through. So
Sure.
now we're doing another big push this week. I put information out on social media, and I've emailed you the little graphic that you can share as well, if you'd like, to let people know about the community forums. I created one for each community forum, the 3 of them. I was waiting for the final one to be approved, and I'll send that out too. But, so far, some good hits on our website, and I think it's just going to grow from here.
Sure, especially when the portal starts containing the applicants, it will really mushroom. And, you know, this is with the hurricane too, so we were really excited the way the word is getting
Yeah.
out. Next, in board docs, you received a copy of a draft superintendent search screening guide. And you are welcome to use this in any way you'd like as you're looking through the candidates yourself, and the members of the Citizens Advisory Committee will also receive this. One thing, there are a lot of TBDs. One thing that many people do is look at the desired leadership qualities which you've identified in your brochure as you're screening for the applicants. And you can use this or not use it, it's up to you. But one reminder is anything that you do, use it as a public record, depending on how you want to use that. But we like to provide that for you,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
The next item for your information is that we have a bank of interview questions for board consideration. And what we normally we do is we've gone through and looked at your strategic plan, and we've used that to form the questions for the survey. Now, your strategic plan has several different categories in it. What we suggest is that board members identify a category that they would like to ask questions on. For example, one might be curriculum and student achievement, and we'll do this in a few minutes, see what the board members' preference is.
Sure.
And then we'll provide a bank of questions that cover curriculum and student achievement. If you want to use some of those questions, that's perfectly fine. If you want to use your own questions, that's fine also, but this just gives you an idea. You can also use this bank of questions when you are doing your individual interviews, if you'd like to do that. And once, we don't have the questions finalized in the areas right now, but we'll send those out to Connie in a few days. And then when the board member, we'll set kind of a time to get those back to Connie, and then we'll develop interview guides based on what questions you want to ask. And again, this is just the way you would like to, if you'd like to use
Sure.
this, you can do that.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that just from what I've done in the past, when it's the board doing the interview,
Right.
like for instance, we're interviewing you, then similar to what we did with the interim, you know, we each have our set of questions. Okay.
Correct.
So, and we ask the same questions to all the candidates, and we each represent a different area so that it's a well-rounded series of questions, which allows us to get a good impression, a good perception of the candidate, rather than just stick on one particular area.
Correct, and that's really worked out well, and some of the boards rotate around when they're
Sure.
doing that.
Yeah.
And then it works out really well. So, but what I've done, just in general speaking, because there are more areas in your strategic plan
Then there are board
than
members.
there are board members. So
Yeah.
when I send this out to Connie, I just wanted to get your idea of the concept of it. I've combined curriculum and student achievement as one area,
Sure.
And if the board members are interested in this now, you know, we'd certainly like to, we could hear from you now if that's an area you like. The next one we combined was internal and external communications.
Yep.
The third area was HR and operations. The fourth was fiscal management. And the fifth was evaluation and accountability. And then the chairman would kind of welcome the candidate, introduce the candidate, maybe ask for a general review of their, you know, their background as you would do, and then kind of close with asking the candidate if they have any final.
Sure. Yeah.
So are there board members comfortable now in kind of selecting one of those areas that they would like to, us to, you know,
Sure.
just start thinking about now, or would you like to do that?
Let's just do it
Later.
now. I mean, you know,
Okay.
we're,
So the first would be
We're
curriculum.
adults.
Curriculum and student achievement. Is there anyone?
what is it again? I'm sorry, I spoke
Curriculum and
over you.
student achievement would be one. Internal and external communications would be two.
Okay, let's do one at a time.
Okay.
Who wants the first one?
Curriculum and student achievement.
Me, if you
Okay,
don't mind.
Ms. Cuthbert.
Okay? Ms.
Thank you.
Cuthbert? Okay. The second is internal and external communications. That'd be,
I'm looking at you.
okay, there we go. That's Ms. Cologne's. Okay, let's got that. Okay. The third is HR and operations. That would include facilities and so forth.
I'll take it.
Okay, right. The fourth is fiscal management.
And which one, and what's the
And
next
the
one?
fifth is evaluation and accountability.
Whichever one you want, Jamie, I don't care.
I'll take fiscal, I thought Ida was gonna take fiscal management.
You didn't say anything. That's why- I'll take fiscal. You gonna take the other one?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I just, you took fiscal
I'll take-
last time, so that's why I was
See,
like.
she should have volunteered
I
for what
did.
she
It's
wants.
true.
I'll take fiscal.
Okay,
I'll take
Miss,
fiscal, give her the
let the
other.
record show
I-
Miss Wright
I-
wants
I waited
fiscal
till last
management,
last
because
time
Ms.
because
Haynes
I'm
told her
happy
so,
with
so
you.
that's it.
I'll
All
take
right.
fiscal. She'll take, we'll
I'll
switch.
I'll take HR, she'll take
Okay,
fiscal, and then
so
you have what I
Mrs.
have
Haynes will
left.
have
And then
HR.
I'll have what nobody else wants. That's
Okay.
what I'll
That-
have.
that-
Thank you very-
Actually, that's the one I had last time, and
It
it's
was-
a good one.
It's a good one, of course. They're all good. They're all good.
So we'll provide that over the next few days, and then we'll go ahead and work through that. Okay, thank you very much. I have a miscellaneous list that I'd like to go through.
Go, no, please do.
The reason we're such a good team is, as a former superintendent, I want to do things like right away.
Yeah.
And that's why I moved that, said, let's do it right away if we're going to change this. But that's why I have John. That's why, because John says, well, hey, let's go ahead and settle this thing down a little bit. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why we're.
That's good.
I mean, and Tim's
You
probably
guys
like
are-
I am. I'm just always on the move here. Never stopping here. I'm a 5 a.m. person too, by the way. So I'm sorry, Ms. Haynes.
No, I'm an early bird, but I just was, I know some people are not early birds.
But, you know, to bring this up, we had one
I'm one of
search, and the candidate was actually worn out at the end of the day. And it really played a part in the selection of the board.
Wait, say that again? He
And
did-
in one of our searches a few years ago, we had a pretty tight schedule. It wasn't, it was even not as tight as this one, but the candidate was worn out at the end of the day. We did, and it was interesting. Anyway,
It played a part.
we got to fire up.
He didn't get selected, let
You
me
didn't get
guess.
selected.
You're right.
Okay, I'm gonna run through my list. One thing that is, I think I've covered everything, except one thing, it's kind of an important one. One is the copies of the applications. Okay, now this is a big deal, okay, because we'll send the applications electronically to the Citizens Committee. Okay, but the question is, do board members want the Citizens Committee to have hard copies, and do board members want to have hard copies of all the applications? Because if we want hard copies, it's better to know now, because it's a big process at the end, because you'll have some pretty big books of the
Yeah.
candidates. So
Yeah.
if you want hard copies, it's best to know now for you. And if you want the Citizens Committee to have hard copies, a lot depends on the technology ability of the Citizens Committee
Yeah.
too. And I don't know who those people are.
That's true.
So some
yeah.
people will be able to access and pull all this data up, others won't be able to. So let us know what your feelings are. Do you want the Citizens Committee to have hard copies, and do the board members want hard copies?
Well, go ahead, Jamie. I was just going to say that you are exactly right. For instance, if you just polled this board, how many of us, want a hard copy of everything, or how many of us don't even want a hard copy because we just look at it through our laptop? And I think if we were to ask the citizens on the Citizens Advisory Committee, if we were to ask each one of them ahead of time, do you prefer to have the resumes on a hard copy, or would you prefer just to have them on your laptop? Because some of the people, as you know, they don't want all that paper, and they don't want to lug it around, and it's going to be a lot, I would think. But there are others who will want to write notes on it, and you know how that goes. So I don't want to take anything away from a community member that's volunteering their service. I don't want to make it, put them in an uncomfortable way. So I'm kind of leaning whatever they prefer. But are you saying that we need to make a decision for all of them?
Well, my thought was that now that we have the last email address, what I would like to do after they receive your Sunshine email is to really communicate personally with each of those as a DL list and send a notice from me to each member and kind of give them, who I am, what our goals will be, kind of a tentative schedule for the first meeting, and that our plans are to process the applications electronically and let them know when I will start sending those to the committee members. Usually at that point, if there's someone who really has any objection or preference, strong preference, that may be a good time to receive that. I would agree with 25 members, and the notebooks in the end will be rather large notebooks, and you kind of look at 25 of those. It is a lot of, it's a large task to print 30, 35 notebooks of this magnitude, but that might be an option to see how your advisory committee wants to receive it.
Okay, great. Ms. Haynes, yes.
So my thought is we've selected these individuals and they're coming. And so if we don't provide it in hard copy to them to have there, because my understanding is they're going to be discussing it, when they're together and things like that, then we're asking them to bring some kind of a device with them to be able to pull it up and manipulate it when they're saying, okay, so, say they're in the group and the group says, I'm really interested in candidate number 2. Well, then it's like, well, who was candidate number 2 and why were you interested, or things like that. So, I mean, for us, I think it's a different story
because we already have these.
We have devices, we take them everywhere we go or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just, and we've got a wide age range of individuals that are coming. We don't know that they have a device that, they could transport with them. And if we want them to have the best discussion, I think they should have the information in front of them, to be able to make notes and things
Well,
like that.
and I don't disagree with that. I just don't want to put a bunch of paper in front of someone like Ruben who would say, I don't need that paper. Go ahead, Miss Wright, and then.
And so that was going to be my question. Will we be able to have those who are unable to bring a laptop with them? When they convene, can we provide them, number one, with some technology? And number two, I think providing each of them with a USB drive. I am really anti-paper.
Yeah.
And I do believe if they had a USB drive when they come, depending on if we have the technology, we may not be able to provide it. And so then that would be a horse of another color. But if we're able to provide it to those who do not and cannot bring theirs, and we give everyone a USB drive, I think that could eliminate a lot of the paper. But
Some people also don't know how to manipulate, even if we hand them the
They don't, and they're already
technology.
gonna have it on.
You're right.
their-
No.
It's
I
just
don't,
gonna-
I would
it
not
is what
want
it
to
is.
embarrass someone that
No.
is sitting
No.
there that says, I can't
No,
I'm just-
absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Yes.
So I
Mr.
support the
Corn.
idea of asking the individual. Me personally, sometimes we get stacks of papers here, and I'm like, why do I have this? It's right here. And so I think that it should be up to the individual which method they prefer. I think having sat on boards where we did get books and books of investigations and all that good stuff, you know, it does get really, really cumbersome. And so you put your, you know, having it in front of you in this situation for some folks is going to be the preferred method because they're going to tab certain aspects of it. And, you know, if we had a great electronic platform where they could do that, because that's what on the board I sat on, that's what they ended up doing. They went to an electronic version, but you could put little notes in certain areas. Well, we don't have that. So, you know, I could see two of my folks having no issue. Actually, I could probably see all three of them having no issue with being electronic, but that would be their choice at that point. So I think it should definitely be offered, and you know, and if they opt not to, you know, with enough time, they can request that it be available. If they just think it's too much to navigate.
So, John, I think if you ask them, but also put in there that what Ms. Haynes said and Ms. Wright, that if they choose to go paperless, that it'd be their responsibility to bring their own laptop. Because we are not going to be able to provide laptops. And then once you get them all there, you could tell them what the Wi-Fi password is to get in and go from there. Ms. Cuthbert had a question.
As a person who's, I mean, look at me, I've got my notebook right here. I've spent my whole entire career writing on paper and analyzing, and I mean, so to me, the natural format is paper, and I do agree with Mrs. Haynes. It is an age issue because I see this thing next to me. It's the same age as my daughter, my oldest daughter, who uses all the post notes on his computer. So I've never seen a piece of paper other than his paper coffee cup. So I think whatever makes a person comfortable, I'm all for it. But I think we should at least provide the option for and not to embarrass, because if you're asking me to tab certain things on a computer, I don't think so. So, but all of it has to do with age.
Yeah, Ms. Haynes.
And
yeah.
my other thought behind that was, I didn't want them to start receiving them via email and then feel like if they wanted paper, that they had to print them themselves. Like, I did not want them to think, okay, I'm on the committee and now I've got to find a way to print all of this myself, because that's my style of.
Yeah, yeah. Superintendent Egner just asked, just want to make sure, but I think I told you the correct answer. Will there be any formatting issues in terms of the applicants when they're submitting their resumes? Were they told to submit it on Word or a PDF, or
Well,
does it matter? I mean,
I get pretty much every form they can submit it in, they submit it in. So really what I do, and again, there are a few that are missing items. I communicate with those people, the deadline and the requirements. But to answer that question, I take every application that comes in, and if they're a complete application, then I arrange it into a PDF format where the first document that you as a board member or anyone would see if they're looking electronically would be the cover letter. The second item you should see is always the resume. The third begins their reference letters, and then the final items are their transcripts. And it's all contained in one PDF document. So you click and open one document and you scroll cover letter, scroll resume, scroll reference letters, and every one, with the exception of one, is in that order, because that individual sent it to me in a PDF document, and the resume and the transcripts, I think, are out of place. But and I can't modify that person's PDF document, but they're all in one document, so you open once to see everything.
well, that sounds great. And since it's PDF, I guess whether you're using an iMac or Windows, you can open it, right? I mean, shouldn't be any compatibility problems. Mike says no
Should not be.
compatibility problems. Okay. All right, thank you. Ms.
Can I ask
Cuthbert?
a question? When our Superintendent Search Committee, 25 members meet, is it closed?
No, ma'am.
So it's all open. What is to prevent any one of the members discussing what happens in there on social media?
The letter.
You're saying when the committee meets in the public, what is to prevent a committee member from?
Especially if they're under sunshine rules, about, well, this person said that and that person said this. I mean, is there going to be any caution to remain professional? Or
Yeah,
can
I
one
mean,
person, any one of the members, get on social media and lambaste everybody else?
Well, I would hope that wouldn't happen, but yeah, there is no restriction on that. I mean, they can report, it was a public meeting to begin with, so they can report what was said at the public meeting on social media. They can't discuss among themselves through the social media anything that they might be considering, but I could, when I make my little presentation on issues related to this, say that it's not advisable,
I'd
but
just
not
like to
really
avoid,
illegal.
make it as professional as possible
Yes.
and not have anyone overly influenced.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that would be fine. Right?
thank
Yeah.
you.
That sounds good. Yeah. Okay, that's, what about board members? Would board members
Board
all
members.
like?
Well, I'm sorry, just a quick update.
Sure.
You had asked, I think, previously, Mr. Chair, to date, or as of last night, we had a total of 16 submissions for the vacancy, 16. Out of those, 12 are complete applications, which I've forwarded on to Connie. And then there are 4 that are pending the receipt of a missing item or 2. You will note, too, that each candidate has a number associated with that candidate. So it's applicant number 3 or applicant number, 1 through 16. And we use that because as we get to our interview schedule, candidate A would be your lowest numbered applicant who's interviewed first. So if y'all pick as finalist candidate or applicants number 3, 12, and 17 and 18, then 3 will be your first interview, 12 would be your second interview. It avoids people trying to kind of arrange for their interview to be the last one. So that's why those numbers are there, and that's really the only value. It is certainly no ranking of any type.
Sure. Thank you for that. And the deadline to get an application in is still the 25th? was it?
25th, September 25th, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I only had one other item on my miscellaneous list.
Yes, sir.
Once the semifinalists are identified by the board, we recommend that each semifinalist receive a couple of questions that they respond to in writing within a week. And those questions could be over something that has come up in the forums or some commonly asked issue. I know we've heard a lot about internal communications, for example, where they would submit a one-page on how they would address a situation. It could be what are the first things they think they need to be doing, or you could, different topics, and we'll give you some ideas on that. But I'm assuming you probably would like to continue that process. That would give you another document that you could use to determine your finalists.
Okay, and tell me when we would do that?
As soon as the semifinalists are identified, there's a period of time that you have between that time and then when you identify finalists. And we would send that out immediately at that point. That would be probably October 15th, so we've got some time on that.
Okay.
And I didn't hear, do the board members want hard copies, or do they
I
want?
do.
Okay. So it'll be the same, it'd be an option.
Oh, you're talking about, does the board?
Want
do the-
hard, I think I didn't hear anybody object to not sending out some questions that the board would determine later on to semifinalist.
Yeah, is that all right, the board members, you're good with the questions, a couple of questions, okay?
And then the final, I don't think we finalized our decision on if board members want hard copies of the applications or not, or if it's going to be individual as it is for the committee.
So the way we have it going right now, you send them to Connie, Connie sends them to us.
Yes.
And we don't have any hard copies unless
Right.
board members have printed them
Right.
on their own. And so are you asking us, do you want us to let Connie know if we,
If you want to do that, the same way, right, board members want to have a book, or you want to do it electronically.
okay, well, I would say we'll leave it up to each board
Got it, got it,
member, and
okay.
you just contact Connie, and Connie, if,
You would do it in your copy center. Yeah, right.
is that good? Board members, good? Good? Yeah. Okay, so that's how we'll do it, just like we're doing the Citizens Advisory Committee. Whatever you want.
Yes, and I will communicate with the advisory committee members and get their preference and respond accordingly.
Yeah. I would just think at those Citizens Advisory Committee meetings, you may want to have a couple of extra
That's what we'll do.
copies, hard copy.
We'll have
yeah,
that, there, so.
in
no-
case somebody's laptop doesn't work, or,
Got it.
you know,
We can do that.
things are going to happen, yeah.
Great.
So the notebooks for the board, or you just want, every application or just the finalists?
That would be up to each board member. So each board member would contact you, Connie, and they'd let you know what they want. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from the board? We've covered a lot this morning.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's good, good. So many moving parts to all of this. It's good. It's good. It was interesting. I was, again, talking to the interim superintendent yesterday, and she asked me, so when is your deadline? And I said, September 25th or 26th, I forget what I told her. And she said, you can expect to get a rush of applicants one day before. And I said, and she said, you know why? And I said, yeah, I think I know why, because of sunshine and everybody will know. And she said, yeah, so that's the way it usually works, so, true?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All right, questions for our consultants? Kelly, are you good? You with everything?
Yes.
And we appreciate your help as well, keeping everything going. Connie, any questions? You good? You got it all? All right, then, we're going to take a recess till 11:30, okay? All right, we'll call our workshop back to order. And the next item on the agenda is one of my favorite topics, the Student Progression Plan, SPP. And we have Rachel and Amy.
Good morning, Chairman Persis, Superintendent Egner, and school board members. We are here to present the annual update to the Student Progression Plan. This plan really drives the learning and teaching for our students and how we report that out. And when I say we, mostly Dr. Hall is going to present this plan and the changes that we have made, and then we have some time for any questions that you have as well.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Amy Hall. I'm your Director of Student Government Relations and the keeper of the Student Progression Plan. I'm excited to bring this plan forward today. We've done a lot of work. This is a work in progress, but this for us, the Student Progression Plan is our Bible in many ways. It's what we use in order to be able to ensure that we are functioning effectively within our district. So we have made some changes. Some of them are based on policy changes within our district. Some of them are based on legislative changes. And some of them are statutory requirements that either were not in our student progression plan that needed to be added or were recently added because of legislation. So we're going to take you through that. You received in an email last week 2 documents from me, actually 3, but 2 that were pertinent to today. And one is the summary of changes. So what we did in the summary of changes, a little bit different that we've done in the past, is try to give you a rationale for why the change. Why did we delete it? Why did we add it? And so I tried to provide that clarifying language, and I'm happy to answer questions that you might have in regards to that. In addition, you received the very cumbersome but very effective and efficient student progression plan, and you saw again, strike-throughs and underlying showing you that these are additions and deletions that we have added to the SPP for this year. There is a Florida statute that I provided you that kind of outlines what has to go into each one of these student progression plans, and so we want to make sure that we are within the requirements that are outlined for us and make sure that we update you with any changes that are occurring. Okay, you can go ahead. So there are several, I guess, sections of the SPP, and we did include a new one this year, and there was an index, which was a bear to include, believe it or not. It was a labor of love, but we finally got the index embedded inside of the SPP, which I think will make things much easier for our stakeholders to be able to look for information that they might be seeking. So we did add that. In addition, we added titles under each one of the sections. So you'll know if, am I in the elementary section, am I in the middle school section, am I in the high school section, and so forth. There is language that is often similar from section to section, and there's often a language that might differ in the middle school section, slightly different in the high school section. So we want to make sure that our stakeholders are well aware of the section they're in and wanted to have that index. We're excited to add that this year. So I'm going to bring you and highlight some of the changes that we added to the SPP. They're not all encompassing. That is in your summary of changes. One of the first ones is a legislative change. In this last legislative session, the legislators came back and they are bringing that career exploration course back into our middle school student progression. That is not anything new and actually really didn't come away from that in Volusia County schools. So for those of you that have been around for a little while or perhaps might have a middle school student, you may remember the career course. In Volusia, we embedded it inside the U.S. history course, and we are going to continue that again this year. One of the pieces of this is to develop a 4-year plan, and that's what our 8th grade students are going to be doing, is developing a 4-year plan and what is it that they would like to take inside of high school. That often freaks out parents because they feel like, oh, my child's only 12 and we're making decisions about high school. It's just a plan and it can be tweaked, but we want them to begin thinking about post-secondary and about high school. So we will be adding that course, career exploration course in. It'll be embedded inside our U.S. history course, and that's going to begin this school year. In addition, one of the things we've started to notice, and we made a policy change, is that we're starting to see a higher number of middle school students that are over age. So they are being retained in the 6th grade or the 7th grade or the 8th grade. So one of the policy changes that we put is any student who's not successfully completing their courses that they need to work towards high school admissions, that they're going to receive individual academic counseling. And although that's been happening, I would hope, across the board at all of our middle schools, we wanted to make sure to put that into the SPP, because this, again, is our way of work and is our Bible. So we have added that piece in to ensure our students that are struggling. We do have the EWS, the Early Warning Systems program, that we pull our students that have been retained multiple times, that are overage, but now we're going to add that extra piece of academic advisement and help them to get to high school and not at the age of 18 or 19 years old. We did also add another policy change. One of the things we do when we are updating our student progression plan, we have a tendency to review other districts and just kind of see what are they doing. And we did look into a couple of districts, and this is one that was found, this particular statement was found in multiple districts. And this gives some flexibility at the middle school level only, that if a principal felt that the student met promotion criteria in a different way, demonstrating mastery of the Florida standards through some type of alternative assessment, that they would be able to go ahead and promote them. That would be a far and few between circumstance, but it is an option for principals. We've had instances where a student has struggled in the 6th grade, maybe had failed a math course in 6th grade, but had done remarkable in 7th grade and 8th grade, had a 4 on the FSA math. Why are we keeping that student in middle school over a 6th grade class when obviously math is something that builds on it? So this gives that principal that flexibility, of course, with the support of the district. This is statutory language, and this will probably not favor well with some of our instructional staff, but it is something that's coming down from the state, and this is not new language. It's not something that we've had before that we came across. So I am going to read it, and I want you to try to soak it in. But a student enrolled in a full year course shall receive a full credit if the student successfully completes either the first or the second half of the course. And as long as those two averages come out to be a passing average, the student will earn a full credit for that course. So in years past, when a student has earned first semester a D and an F, and then second semester an A and an A, they have only passed half of the course. Under this statutory language, technically they would pass the entire course. So this is not something that we can really say yay or nay to, because it is statutory language, so this will be something that we have to do some programming with and focus for. Our legislators came together and they did give us a new diploma track this year. This was not what I was hoping for. One of the pieces in my other hat, my other job in advocacy with legislation, is to find an alternative pathway to the high school diploma. And what we've been pushing for is a CTE pathway. Not all of our students are going to go to post-secondary institution, and some of them are ready to go into the workforce. So what we're looking for is that opportunity for students that are seeking that workforce path to be able to earn a standard high school diploma. Approximately 220 of our students in Volusia County on a yearly basis earn a certificate of completion. That means they pass every hurdle except for one. They pass biology, they pass the algebra, they pass U.S. history, they pass all of those things, but at the end of the day, they have not passed one of those, one or two of the FSAs. And so they do not earn a standard high school diploma. We have had situations, and you've heard me say this, where we had a valedictorian once. It's been a number of years now, but she was the top of her class, highest GPA in the class. But her anxiety kept her from being successful on the FSA ELA. And unfortunately, she is not considered as a graduate. She did not receive a standard high school diploma. So our hope and our advocacy and our push has been to offer an alternative pathway. Sadly, our legislators heard half of the story, and they did create the 18-credit CT diploma option, which is more directed towards our students seeking to go more the job force route, but it still requires them to have that FSA ELA and FSA math. So it's not fully there, but we're going to continue to push. But this is something that we are going to be offering beginning with this incoming 9th grade class, and it's actually an option for any of our students in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. So we have begun implementing that. This is just some clarifying language that we put into the SPP. Any student enrolled in an AP, IB, or ACE course is required to take the corresponding exam. If they choose not to take the exam, and certainly they can choose to do that, they will not receive that full weighting. They'll be receiving that half weighting, which is similar to the honors weighting. In addition, the district will pay for the examination fees that correspond with those courses in which the student is enrolled in. So that's just some clarifying language for us. In addition, this is really nothing new, but we wanted to put it into the SPP. We have a lot of students who choose to take a more rigorous course, an AP course, an IB course, an honors course, an ACE course, and sometimes these students get in over their head. And so there was some language in the SPP that basically kind of like a drop add date. Once you get to this point, you can't drop the course. But we all know that there are circumstances and times where a student may need to be released from the course for a variety of reasons. So this gives a little bit more flexibility that if the student has a D or an F in the course, and we really believe that there's been a parent conference, we've been working with the student, he's been consistently attending class, we've done everything that we can possibly do, but the student is still drowning, we certainly want to go ahead and give an opportunity for that student to be removed from the class. But it would be principal discretion. So this has not been a new practice, it just gives a little bit more clarity to something we've been doing. I'm almost cautious to bring this one up. This is about our EOC conversation that we had this summer in regards to our EOCs and our calculations. So this goes back to the conversations that we had in July and June, and this is just taking the language that you all suggested and that you all voted on and putting it into the SPP. Again, reminding you that student progression plan is our Bible. So this is how students are going to progress happens today in the student progression plan, and when you vote on it, that's why this language is critical inside of this document. Lastly, this is a legislative change, and this came out of the legislative session, that any student that would like to wear their United States military uniform in lieu of the traditional regala that is worn, the cap and gown, they may choose to do that. They just have to put it in written request, and we will allow them the opportunity to do that.
Is that?
Ms. Cuthbert?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does that mean students who are in ROTC programs can graduate with their ROTC uniform?
Yes, they can do that. We did go ahead and initiate this past, it passed actually in early May, and so we went ahead and did it for this past graduation, and no one decided to do that. A lot of families still continue with the typical regala. However, I suspect we'll see more and more do this, so.
Thank you.
Just a couple of side notes. The College and Career Expo is coming up. You can go ahead, fast forward. It is on September 17th, so it is next Tuesday at Mainland High School at 5 o'clock. It begins with a financial aid presentation. We'll actually have 2 financial aid presentations, and then our expo will begin at 5:30. And we have colleges from all over the United States that'll be in attendance, as well as career paths. Different, I know that Volusia Manufacturing Association will be there, a couple of other organizations. We're trying to drum up businesses to be there, because not all of our students are going to go off to a post-secondary institution, so we want to give them some other opportunity as well. So if you're available, come on out to Mainland High School, to the beautiful gymnasium. It'll be transformed to our showcase. Another hot ticket item is our high school showcase, so that is December 12th. It is a busy time of year, so I wanted to get it on your calendars now. If you haven't had an opportunity to attend a high school showcase, it is beautiful, and it's probably one of the most exciting opportunities for our middle school students. It's kind of a rite of passage now. My nephew is in middle school, and he's like, when do I get to go to the high school showcase? So the kids are very excited about it. We are slated for December 12th from 5 to 7 o'clock at the Tommy Lawrence Arena, and I've been assured that there will be no livestock the previous night, so that will be good for us. So we're excited to have that, and we encourage you to mark your calendars for that. That is all I have in regards to just updates on the student progression plan. If there are anything specifically you want to ask me, you're available.
Well, we thank you for your presentation, and thank you for creating the index. How novel. Being able to,
index.
That is such a horrible job, though, to do. Oh, my gosh. I don't know who was tasked with that, but
I
would be very remiss if I didn't thank Ms. Hazel and Dr. Hall for allowing me to be such an interference in this. I am used to writing student progression plans, and so her easy job became much more difficult, but she was so patient. She was a great counselor, and we worked through a lot of changes, which I think will be an improvement for all concerned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Any questions, comments, board? Ms. Cuthbert?
One.
Yes.
If an eighth grade student fails English and just kind of goes downhill that last semester, can that student still be promoted to the ninth grade?
If he
or-
fails the course overall, no, he cannot. Now, he has opportunities to do summer school and remediate quarters of that class. And we also have our 8.5 program where students are able to sit in an Odyssey lab or in a lab, Edgenuity lab for a while until they can get that course completed and then transfer over. We have that window open right now until midterms. So we've had a number of eighth grade students that have missing one, maybe two classes, and they've worked really, really hard the last couple weeks to get them over to the high school. That window will close at midterm, and then we'll reopen it at the semester. And for any student that completes and they're done, they can move over at the semester.
So the student then is still at the middle school, but if all that is completed, can move over to the high school midterm, like the end of September or beginning of October. Well, that's kind of the end of the quarter.
They cannot move over in October at this point. That's something that we've looked at for the possibility of moving them at a different time for next year. What we are doing is utilizing Volusia Online Learning to begin giving them 1 or 2 courses so that they are still making progress, but they will move over at Christmas time.
Because that's going to be awfully hard to get all that caught up. Freshman
Right.
English, biology, all of that. Is there a way that we can maybe keep track of the number of students we have and what we have available to assist them to adapt?
We do, and I can give you we call them 8.5 students. I can give you the numbers for each one of our schools. It's about, some schools have 2 or 3 students that are in that. Some of them have about a dozen, never really more than a dozen. And they are giving me updates on a daily basis of this student has completed and has moved over, this student is still struggling, this student is choosing to do nothing. So we're working with them to try to get them over. We have, when they do transition over, we have meetings with the parents, the receiving school, and the sending school to provide supports and this ease of transition.
Okay, is there anything in place for teachers to assist them to get caught up? Because I can't imagine getting into an Algebra 1 class in January.
One of the requirements of the 8.5 program is for them to be enrolled simultaneously in English 1 and in Algebra. So they should be taking Volusia Online Learning or a face-to-face at the middle school, because we do have the algebra option at the middle school, so that those are the 2 classes the most that we worry about, because those are the classes they need. So we haven't worked with teachers, but we can certainly look at doing something like that to continue to support them. But hopefully they're following that curriculum map, and they're in this similar spot when they do transition over.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Colon.
So you mentioned the ability for the principal to promote a middle school student. Are we going to create criteria that will make it more objective than subjective so that we don't end up with a scenario where one principal promotes one child and then you have an identical situation somewhere else and that individual may decide not to?
So it's a great question, and yes, we've already put that in place. We have our promotion retention committee, so all of the requests to promote a student with the rationale of why goes to that committee. The principal for that school serves on the committee decision as well, but it's not just one person.
Great.
So yes.
Thank you.
Good question. Ms. Wright.
I have one question, and my question is in reference to the AP-IB clarifying language. So when we state that the students have options of when they can drop the class, are you there? I see a completion of a parent conference, regular and consistent attendance, demonstration of a student seeking consistent academic assistance and/or principal or designee permission. Would it be better if they had to do at least 2 of them and not just 1?
So at least a minimum of a parent conference, regular attendance, so at least 2 of those, and then.
Right, and the reason I'm asking because, say you may not have a parent that you can reach, but the student, regular and consistent class, the teacher's recommending, maybe this student need to step down this semester, because I will say this, in a grading period, even something such as a storm, and I'm sure from your profession you can tell, had we had a direct hit, that could have greatly impacted how a child would have learned this particular. So it could be several factors, but I would like to see, I'm just asking, is it possible that we can have a combination of the two? Because they could earn a D, and you could talk to a parent, and the principal may agree, but it could be a factor of something that is happening just at that particular time in a student's life that they just really need to be removed from the course. And then will they be permitted to get back into the program? That was my second question.
So the way it reads now,
Okay.
that last sentence, until the end of the semester and only if so is it implied there then only if all of the following conditions, or does that mean only if one of the following conditions
All of
or
the
some?
following,
So
all of the following.
it's
But
implying
there is a little
all.
bit of flexibility in the and/or principal designee. So the principal could say, you know what, he doesn't meet any of those criteria, but I still think he needs to come out.
Okay, that's what you're looking for, right? Okay.
You know, just in that particular instance, I still think they need just a little more because of things that's just happening in life.
Absolutely.
But now, the second part, if a student is removed from the program, the first part of the year, can they re-enter the program the second half of the school year?
So each program will be a little bit different. So an IB student, it may be a little bit, depending on where they are in the program, they may have to drop back and do IB certificate. As long as there's an opportunity for them to make up the credits, we wouldn't necessarily remove them from the program. Same thing with the AP or the ACE program. The AP is a little bit easier. You can pop in and out of the courses very easily. The ACE and the IB is a little bit more prescriptive. I don't see an issue with them continuing towards the diploma as long as there's time, and if there's not time, then they can certainly do the certificate.
Good, okay. Everyone okay? Questions? Mr. Superintendent, any further
No,
comment?
I would just, again, I would congratulate the team on the work that they've done. The only comment I would make is about future. One of the things I've worked with Dr. Hall on is we're going to produce some proposals that we think would be great to have in the student progression plan for the following year. And we almost gave it to you now, but we thought it would be confusing, and it might confuse the advertising for this because it's a policy and it has to be advertised, and we didn't want to, mess that up. But as we develop ideas, we think that we'll kind of put them in red and say proposal for next year. That way you can have a lot of advanced notice on thinking about it, and we would also give it to principals so that one of the issues we have now, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but you'll immediately understand. Traditionally, major legislative changes only occurred every few years, sometimes 8 or 10 years before something major happened. Now they occur every July. So there's no time to plan or prep. As you noticed in this presentation, an awful lot of what was changed was because of legislation which was passed this year and then enacted in July 1st. So how can you plan ahead to address it? How can you budget it? How can you do any of those things when you have a month to do something?
Yeah.
So as we anticipate things, or as we see issues we'd like to move forward with, we'll write those down, float them, so that people have a chance to think about it, and then that might make this process a little more streamlined. And Mrs. Cuthbert, I'd like to give an example. One example is that middle school issue that you just discussed. I have been the author of a student progression plan clause, which stated, and this involved a lot of work. It's not something we could do this year because it involves a lot of tagging and IT things, and we're just getting our system up. But if a student only lacked one of the required credits, we would move them to the high school. Their actual school of enrollment would still be the middle school. They would be labeled as an 8th grader, but they would take that course over at the high school. It was usually done virtually. And then the rest of their schedule was just like every other 9th grader. The only distinction was they were an 8th grader until that course was finished. That way they did not lose that transition semester, etc. But they had to complete it typically by the end of the semester, by the end of the year at the latest. So that is something that could be put into it once you have all the ducks in a row. But it's not something you would spring on IT, and it's not something you'd spring on the high schools. It's something you would want to give them advance notice of. Can we do this? Can we program it? School of residence being different than the school of enrollment, and then work it out. So that's an example.
It's because if we can have them do virtual learning for high school courses, why not put them on the high school campus and do virtual learning for the 8th grade class? That way they don't lose out, and they're still considered part of the high school experience. It might keep them in their rep,
cohort, right.
their rep.
That's
going.
the precise idea. So don't be surprised if you get some kind of reoccurring message about, hey, we might want to think about this for the plan next year.
Okay, then, so this will come, what,
So
up
this
at
is
a school
coming
board meeting?
Not tonight's school board meeting,
okay.
but the end of the month school board meeting. It'll come for advertisement.
Yeah.
And then I think it's 6 weeks, 5 weeks, Mr. Manning? 6? I think 6 weeks. And then it'll come back for your vote.
Just
then.
come back for our votes. Okay, well, thank you for presenting that at the workshop, and then when it
Yes.
comes before us at the school board meeting, we can just approve and
Perfect.
not have to go through this again. All right, thank you all
you.
very,
Thank you.
very much. Well, we're running a little ahead of time, which is great. I was just wondering, since we just went through the hurricane, questions I'm starting to get is about the makeup days. And I didn't know whether this is, have you all had a chance to discuss this? I know there's some legislative issues that are involved with so many minutes that you have
I'd
to.
be happy to give you a summary, and I would ask for your indulgence after I offer my summary. If you'll allow me to do so, I'd like to impose on Ms. Albert to come forward, because we've had some pretty in-depth discussions.
Oh, good, good.
So we lost 3.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about what can or cannot happen. So the legislative mandate is for number of minutes of instruction. Can't be just the number of minutes. It has to be instructional minutes that you meet. So when we look at our current schedules, we could theoretically absorb all 3 days with our existing schedule without altering any calendar, except for 7 schools at the middle school level. Those 7 schools have instituted a remediation half hour. That remediation half hour, it cannot legitimately, I don't think, be tagged as instructional minutes because it varies. The kid might be doing math, he might be doing science, they might be doing something else. It could be social emotional, who knows? And it varies with the student. So we'd have a lot of trouble, I think, making that work and be legitimate, not that it couldn't happen. So one of the proposals that has been discussed, and it's actually my preferred proposal, would be to ask those 7 middle schools to revise their schedule. The practice, we don't have a lot of data that it's effective, for one thing. Secondly, other schools do not use it. And so all we would have to do is say these 7 schools need to follow the schedule of the schools that didn't. And then that would mean that instructional time would be absorbed back into the day. Now this could have, because those schedules already exist at schools, it would be a transportation tweak, and I haven't talked to Mr. Aiken about the implications of that, but it wouldn't be a new schedule because other middle schools already have this schedule. It might tweak lunch, and I haven't spoken to Schoolway Cafe about, well, what if lunch is 4 minutes later or 5 minutes longer, but we know they do it at the other schools. So we know it can be done. And then there is a practice, which I'm going to tell you I strongly disapprove of. And had I known about it in July, I would have tried to stop it, where we are somehow allowing some middle schools to allow kids to leave 7th period and pretty much go do what they want to do and not have a full schedule on the day. And this was done for good intentions. It was as if, well, maybe they're great athletes and they need to go to their trainer or what have you.
Yeah.
But it is I believe, an unsustainable practice, and that's one of the it's not going to be in my venue, but it's one of my strong recommendations to you that the next superintendent cease that practice, and that it's clear everyone attends a full school day, and we don't just let some people leave and some people not, which I think is a real equity issue as well. But anyway, those schools, those parents who are picking up those kids under the existing rules would have to pick them up at a slightly different time. So we might get some guff about their changing their practice schedules or coaching schedules or whatever it is they're doing. But I'm willing to do that. Understand that's just an option.
Right.
Another option is if we can't make up all the time there, we could look at the early release days and have a discussion about how many of them might need to be used in working out this time. I think those are the two of the more palatable, routine issues. A third might be picking an alternative day for one of the days. For example, the way we've built the winter vacation schedule, there's basically the students get off, and there's a teacher duty day.
On that Friday, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
And so what could happen would be the students stay an extra day, and we move the teacher duty day to Friday. And that would accommodate a full day, and it would mean one more day of instruction for the students. The teachers would have been there anyway. We lose the parents would lose a day they plan to be off. And then, of course, there's the option that was built into the calendar, which was already vetted and discussed, which, is an easy go-to as far as if you're thinking about justification. It's already there, it's already been advertised. But we know that that'll be probably unpopular with a lot of teachers. We know it might involve very low attendance and a lot of substitutes on that Monday and Tuesday. Other impacts I wouldn't want to predict. And my position has been, I'm very open-minded, but it is a decision I didn't want to do around you, and it is a decision I didn't want to do around you representing our teachers. So if, with your indulgence, I would like to invite Ms. Albert to come
Ms. Albert.
forward, who has a very sophisticated understanding of this issue.
Yeah. Ms. Wright, before Ms. Albert.
Before Ms. Albert speak, I just have a question for the superintendent. So based on the options you have provided, we pretty much didn't have to do anything other than those 7 middle schools, am I correct?
That is correct.
And so I'll ask both of you, because then you can address it, but I'll ask you. So why not have those 7 schools lose their early release time or forego their early release days versus the entire district?
It is conceivable to have a differentiated schedule, but if we did if we decided, I want to make sure this is how it's posed, if we took the option indicated, no one would have to lose their early release days. We could absorb the time in our existing schedule as our existing schedule lives, with the exception of those 7 schools.
Ms. Haynes.
Okay, so I wanted to go back to those 7 schools for a moment. So what you're saying is we have 7 middle schools that chose to create their own schedule different from even what we put out of what a standard day looked like for middle school, and change the rules about 7th period. I'm kind of lost here on how somebody got to make those decisions, and those decisions were made at this level without any knowledge of anyone from this level.
If I could I answer that. If I gave the impression that no one at the district knew that was happening. I didn't mean to.
Okay.
What I said was I didn't know about it until very late in the game. The reality is that that seventh period, I'll call it an option, was well known by district staff. It had been discussed, and they were not prevented from doing that. So it was not unknown, and I don't want to give that impression. As far as building the remediation period in, that has been something that has been, and I should tell you, many districts, especially those using PLCs and that are what I would call the 4 districts, have been encouraged to develop time within the school day for remediation. And so that is not at all unusual. Many of our schools tried it. I will say that many at the district level encouraged them to reconsider for this year because of the implications and the accountability and with instructional minutes. Several backed off. A few did not, the 7 that chose not to, but they didn't do anything outside the arena. It was all part of a school-based management. What can we do to increase student achievement? How can we work together to do some innovative programming? How can we accommodate some parents who have kids with defined activities? It was all done above board. But it's good intended people with good ideas. It's sometimes you learn. It doesn't work out as well as you anticipated.
Is there a teacher in that class?
How that is done is up to the school and who gets remediation and how they get the remediation. It is minutes that a teacher would be working, so they may, how exactly that's done and what exactly happens, the school probably knows, but I don't know because it was not something I was a part of the planning process.
Okay, and then whatever we decide to do, then this needs to move up the ladder, I would guess. And is it the commissioner that decides this, or?
What will happen is they will ask us what our plan is, and then we'll submit it, and then they'll say yes or no. So we haven't been asked, as far as I know. No one's told me today that we were asked. I think in the past, we were asked before we were ready to answer. So I was hoping to get input from the stakeholders, make sure it was something you could live with, because the public reaction, you're going to own more than I am.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to set you up for something. And then we would submit our plan and see if it were approved.
Right, well, and I know you all have questions. The public reaction that I've had is that, from teachers and parents, is just, we were planning to take that week off for Thanksgiving. Does this mean we already have air travel? It's gonna cost me, hotel. We've been planning this for a year, that sort of thing. So I've said to those folks, no decision has been made, that if there's any way that we can protect those 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving, that's what I'm sure we're all gonna try to do. But I couldn't guarantee anything, because I know that has to come from everyone.
The analysis of the minutes is, and it's just a very careful calculation, because it could end up costing you money.
Yeah, okay, so Ms. Wright and then Ms. Haynes.
And mine is more of a statement. So from the email that came from the governor's office, that they're not even entertaining any of this until
Right.
at the end of hurricane season. In addition to that, if the districts have something in place that already accounts for the minutes, then we really won't have to do anything. It's if we don't have anything in place and that we're gonna have to ask for an exemption or some type of special concession, then we will have to propose a plan.
I appreciate your point, because the thing that I did not say out loud, that I may have talked to some of you about previously,
And it
is
wasn't
if
me, you all.
Sorry about that. If indeed we took an action alternative to the existing calendar option that would reserve that calendar option for any future disruption to the school day. And my presumption, this is a presumption, I don't decide, I presume, I guess, is that there wouldn't be any further discussion about how to absorb more, shave minutes, and things of that nature. We would just have to automatically default. And whereas I'm knocking on wood here, and I'm not trying to jinx anything, I was just speaking to Mr. Aiken about the 3 storms that are lined up following a similar path to the previous storm, none of which are above 30% probability, but neither was the previous storm at this stage. So it would give us a bank of 2 days to hold in reserve in case something did happen. And again, my presumption was we wouldn't even think about it. We'd just say, here's the 2 days, and people would have to decide if they're gonna miss school or get new tickets.
Ms. Haynes.
Okay, so I'm still back to the 7 schools. I have a few more questions. So you personally did not know, but district staff knew and have been involved in conversation. But I picked up when you were speaking about it, that if we were to make a change with those 7 schools, it would also somehow impact transportation and Schoolway Cafe. So I'm gonna be very direct in my question. Are those 7 schools not only allowing the students to leave at the end of 6th period who have games and all that, are we busing kids out at the end of 6th period?
No.
And just for some clarification, so when we went and looked at the middle school, how to redesign the middle school, that is how some of this came about.
Yes.
It was not redesigned for people to leave early, and I don't think it's a major exodus at 7th period.
No.
We may have a couple students, and those students could either go homeschool or they prefer to come to school. But when we did middle school redesign, that is how we came up with this, because we know we needed some remediation within that calendar. So it was never created for people to leave school, even though some of them may take advantage. And most of the time, it is students that are pretty much well academically prepared, but they decide not to be homeschooled. So I don't want it to be like we didn't know, because as a board, we were very much engaged in the redesign of middle school.
Thank you, Ms. Ray.
Yeah, that's good.
And I agree that what was designed as an accommodation for a handful of kids has literally turned into hundreds. And it's dramatically impacting the FTE at a few of the highly participative schools, to the point that the principals are saying, do we have to keep doing this? Because it's changing their teacher counts, it's changing their capacity to offer electives, and it's causing a disruption on campus when you have 80 to however 150 kids leave.
And see, as a board member, we were not aware that that impact was actually going on. We knew maybe about, and I'll speak for me, about 4 or 5. But for the most part, it had really nothing to do with creating something to give an exemption for students to leave the campus.
Ms. Haynes.
Okay, and I was not here, so, you know, I'm kind of coming into this not understanding what was decided. So I have a few more questions. So, and thank you for, you know, offering that insight. So I can see where this would impact our number of teaching staff, and or does that mean 7th period becomes their planning period for a lot of these teachers because now they don't have students in front of them? Or does that mean teachers are leaving at the end of 6th period and not teaching the 7th? I mean, I really had no idea, and I guess I would like to see what these schedules look like and what's really happening when we've got, because that's half of our middle schools.
It's more than that.
We
Well,
can
no,
do
there's
we can
14
do
of
an
them, so-
in-depth analysis and report on it at a future workshop, and we'd be happy to do so. I brought it up today only in reference to the immediate need to make a decision. I mean, not immediate, but within short order of making a decision about the makeup time, and wanted to be transparent about the possible impact to those 7 schools. And then, of course, that aired an issue that I'd hoped to bring up later in a different fashion, but sometimes fate gets ahead of you.
So I personally would like us to see us go the route of preserving Thanksgiving at this time, because there are more storms out there. And if we can somehow absorb it in a day that we have, and I'm kind of with Mrs. Wright, so if these 7 schools are just hanging out there and they can't, then maybe, if they're not going to come in with what the other are doing, then maybe we have to have an alternative thing for them. But I'm really not, I want the least amount of impact at this time, because we didn't predict that was gonna be bad. Then it looked like it was gonna be horrific, and we were spared from it. But, there was just a lot of stress involved in that. And if we could minimize the stress and get everybody back focused, and hopefully no more storms.
No more storms. Mr. Cologne?
So just as a follow-up, if we can figure out who those 7 schools are, because I don't know who they are,
either.
and what the impact would be on, my area, and then I'd like to personally go and see, okay, what would this look like if you lost this time? What would the impact be? Is this something that you all have found to be an effective tool for I wouldn't want to just take it away for the sake of absorbing the minutes, or they may say, you know what, we'll take that all day long so we don't have to be here the week of Thanksgiving. Again, if they've already got programs, if they've already planned, if they've got all these things in place, I think without knowing what the impact would be to them, it'd be hard to make we're not making a decision today, but, because they may have their whole world surrounded around this time. So if we could figure out who those 7 schools are, I've already figured out that 2 of them have already absorbed, and I've got 3, so I haven't gotten the last one yet, but 2 of mine are good. So I'm not sure about the 3rd one yet, but again, they're out there and they may be doing great things with it.
I can
Do you guys
send
know
that.
Yeah.
who they are?
No.
Okay.
I have, one of my middle schools is involved, but this half hour is only, I think on Fridays, so it's only once a week. And they use restorative practice objectives in that thing. They go to, there's some information about what's going on at school. There's, are you checking up? Teachers are checking up on students' plans, especially 6th grade. Are they adjusting to the school? And also for the, both of my middle schools are involved in that. Parents coming in at the end of 6 periods and picking up students. One much more so than the other. I have over 50 parents leaving at one of my middle schools, over 50, either from 50 to 75 students. Parents insisted that they schedule all our core classes, periods 1 through 6, and the other extracurricular was scheduled for 7th, and then they opted out of it, and parents come by and pick them up. So, but it is happening, and it's, and when I visited my schools that first week of school, I found out about what was going on, and I brought it to Mr. Egner right away. But and because the principal was very much concerned about what's going on. And then, of course, we thought of FTE and how are staffs able to handle this, plus the disruption at the end of the day. Parents are lined up, so you've got 2 parent pickups at the same time. So, one after 6 and one after 7th. And it's when buses have to come in and you've got parents lined up, and then you're visiting a school, you can't get in, you can't get out. Especially with one of my older schools that has virtually no pickup line at that middle school. So this needs to be cleared up, because are we not K through 12 compulsory education? It's not a college where you can pick up your classes.
And I will speak to, what I wanted to do was vet these various options to see if you ruled any of them out. And then I can pursue the others, and I will talk to the principals on Thursday, and then I can feed you more information in case you want to do visits and things of that nature for next week. And then hopefully maybe by the end of the week, we could get enough input from stakeholders to offer us direction, if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, you just tell me the answer and I'll do it.
Well, you said you were going to meet with the principals on Thursday?
Yeah, it is Thursday, right? Yes.
Thursday. Well, I think it'd be prudent for all of us just to wait.
They're a
Until-
very important stakeholder.
until you meet with the principals and see if there's a way that between the two of you, or the 8 of you, can work this
And
out.
Ms. Albert and I have already spoken once. She spoke to cabinet, and then I met again with her team yesterday. So like I say, she has a very sophisticated understanding of the issue.
Well, let's hear that sophisticated understanding. Ms. Albert, thank you for being so patient.
Sure, I was
Sure.
going to suggest this is the easiest time I've had with you folks in a while.
Good.
Just sitting
Good.
here. But I want to begin by thanking Mr. Egner for his very explicit and clearly articulated overview of what we've been discussing all along. Just as was already stated, we're not through the season yet. I think we may be at the halfway point, and of course, we don't want another event, but we have to be mindful of that. And so just a few things as I was listening to the very good conversation that I would put out there for consideration, respective to the 7 schools. At a time where we've just gone through adding additional instructional minutes at the elementary level to ensure student success, why then are we at the secondary level having some situations where we have students engaged for a period of time where we're not receiving academic credit for that? That's a question that I have, after learning what we're doing here. Also recognizing that currently, mathematically, we can work this out and preserve everything the way it is if we just work the numbers and nothing else happens. So, that would of course be what we would like as our plan A, if you will, to absorb it and move on. In just talking with some other local presidents from different districts around the state, most of them are in a similar place where they can absorb it. So, that's what I found in reaching out.
That's good.
So I think everything that that has already been said, it would be redundant for me to go through that, but I appreciate the opportunity to engage.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. So then you're going to meet with the principals
Thursday.
The principals Thursday, and then your plan would be what, to report back out to us?
Yes, I'll send you the report, which offers you the information you've requested, and that'll give me some time to do some further research. As you know, all this is very real time, and so we're trying to learn and move at the same time, so that'll give me a couple of days to put it together.
Yeah, I find it interesting, we're talking about this today. Today's September 10th. That's called peak hurricane day in the state of Florida. So let's hope we get past this and we get on the downside.
And by the way, if we do another calculation of the numbers and I'm wrong, I'll have to tell you that.
Of
too.
course, yeah. Ms. Wright, do you have another
And so
comment?
that's what I was going to ask you, Mr. Chair. So
Yeah.
are we recommending that we just absorb and you all work it out from there?
I think that's what we're hearing, yeah. And does anybody have a different opinion?
May I
Yes,
just say
Ms.
one
Albert,
other
yeah.
thing? Thank you. In our efforts to absorb, I would be very mindful of the purpose of early release time and make that one of the final options, if that's what we do, because the purpose of that early release time is to afford opportunities for greater teacher planning, and that, of course, builds efficacy in delivering that core instruction. And we want to make sure that our students are receiving the highest quality core instruction before we move to any other model, such as a remediation period or tutoring. We want to put our focused efforts on core, what they're doing in those credible class times, and teachers need to be able to plan to do that. So if we're in the process of absorbing, thinking about pulling from early release, I really would like to put that
Yeah.
on the back.
I would, Mr.
That's
Chair,
right.
I would leave that to you all. I think my question was from my colleagues, are we just giving you the green light to go ahead and say, find a way to absorb it, and we are fine with that?
Yeah.
And like you said, just hopefully we don't have another storm, because
Right.
I do think we should have another option that we should probably go ahead and discuss in the event we do, so that everybody's very clear that in the event we have another storm, that we are going to take Thanksgiving, or we are going to eliminate early release. I think we should have.
Yeah,
I
oh,
think
yeah.
you all should have that conversation as well.
In our, I've forgotten, in our current calendar, is it, we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off?
The whole week for Thanksgiving.
The whole week
Yes, the
of
whole week.
Thanksgiving? Okay, okay.
The calendar committee, pardon me, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
go ahead.
The calendar committee added that Monday and Tuesday because we had not added hurricane days in quite a while. So those were designated hurricane makeup days.
Got it, okay, all right, good. Well, let's hope we don't have to use them as hurricane makeup days. All right, well, thank you, Miss Albert, and thank you. I asked the question, I didn't realize it was like, whoa, you guys are
It's
really
a big-
involved in
it's a
this.
big decision.
Yeah, it's a huge decision. Then, all right, I just wanted to mention one thing. Yesterday, I attended the Central Florida Public School Board Coalition meeting, and lo and behold, who attends, who comes in, but Commissioner Corcoran comes in to the meeting. Now, this wasn't advertised, it wasn't anything, so, and we had a relatively, smaller group there, but it was just great because we got to ask questions, and he was very forthright. He ended up spending like hour and a half, I think, there. So it was just wonderful. But what I really wanted to report out was that we were lamenting the fact to him, all of us from the 14 counties, the issue of teaching vacancies. Okay, and that when the school year started, there were 3,500 in the state of Florida, and that this was a huge concern, and that he said that Governor DeSantis is well aware of the problem, and he said, and I quoted, I wrote this down, he said, Governor DeSantis has told me and has already started telling legislators that this is the year that we elevate and celebrate the teaching profession. And in doing that, he's going to make his number one priority to raise the base teacher salary across the board. Evidently, we are in the rankings of the last 10, and he said if we moved it up and we kept putting out this figure of $50,000, we kept saying, starting salary, because Corcoran was asking, well, what do you think? I said $50,000. If we had $50,000 starting salaries, that would influence students when they are deciding what career they want to take going into college. And maybe they could say, I could have a good future becoming a teacher. There's a career ladder too, and I could pay off my student loans and, have a good life. So he said, I think he said $50,000 starting salary would cost $1 billion. I think that's what he said. And so, we were all saying, well, it's about where you want to put your money. And so anyway, but he was really passionate about that. So what I wanted to tell you all is that when you meet our representatives out there to say, we hope you get on board with the governor's focus, his number one goal to increase the base teacher salary. Now, we also mentioned about veteran teachers and that you can't have a teacher starting at $40,000 and a teacher teaching for 15 years and making $48,000. I said, that just doesn't work. And so we're having a problem as well as retaining teachers and not demoralizing our veteran teachers. So he was taking it all in, and he wasn't arguing. It was just like a round table conversation, and I thought it was very nice of him to do that. Now, he has some issues that we would be opposite, as you might think, but I think his second thing was he would like to see more accountability to the VPK system that we have. He would like to expand the VPK system. And so that's another issue, but I think the main thing I wanted to share with you is this emphasis. And so if you see it as superintendents about increasing the base salary, I think that's going to start to generate some conversation out there, what it would take. So it was great to get to have an issue that we could all nod our heads on and not, not like tug of war, like we always tend to do with things. So it was just like, can we all agree on this one thing? Yes, Ms. Saints.
Okay, so Mr. Persis let us all know that he could not attend the next Central Florida Public School Coalition meeting on October 14th, and I said that if need be, I would. But I didn't know until this morning when he handed me this that actually the meeting is taking place at Neo City Academy, which is the Florida's first net zero energy K-12 public school in Osceola.
Yep.
And so once I saw that, then I thought, well, since you didn't share, maybe
Right.
everybody should at least know that. I mean, I'm happy to go, but I didn't want to then, because I know there's other people that are very
Yeah.
interested.
At
this.
yesterday's meeting, at the end,
'Cause
that
this is where
announced
it's
that next month's meeting will not be at the Orange County School Board office. It'll be in Kissimmee. Evidently, that's located right off the turnpike. That's what they said. But Jamie had already volunteered to attend the meeting, so I was hoping she wouldn't change her mind.
I'm
Is that
happy to,
okay?
but it's just nobody knew that this is.
That's it.
It's not just a standard meeting. You get
Right.
to actually go.
And more than one can go, as you all know that, All of you can go. So it's, just want you to know. Thank you for bringing that up, Jamie. Any other concerns, topics, Mr. Superintendent? Are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
So we come back at 3:30, correct? We are adjourned.